What have you seen? What have you heard? What have you read about what might be happening in terms of some type of ground incursion?
Well, as you said in a little clip, there is a statement saying that troops have gone in to Gaza overnight, but they did withdraw again. The video has been released of a column of tanks, quite a long column of tanks, going into northern Gaza. This was not a small incursion, but it was clearly a limited incursion. Presumably to test the ground and target a specific area to see what happened when they went in. The cynic might also say that Netanyahu has been under pressure to call off this invasion, or at least postpone it, by President Biden. In that speech he made last night, he was very clear to say, I and the War Cabinet are in charge. We made the decisions on timing. On the other hand, he hasn't ordered a full-scale invasion yet, despite having expected it. So he may be trying to, have his cake and eat it on that one as well, showing that he can go into Gaza, whatever Biden says, but at the same time, not anger his closest and most important ally by actually disobeying the American president.
Take us through what happened yesterday before the speech. The kind of the appeals from the Pentagon about delaying, if that's the right word, this ground invasion. What was said and how it was couched, what kind of terms it was couched in, and what the reaction was before he made that, before Benjamin Netanyahu made that TV address.
Yeah, it's very hard to distinguish the actual events, if you like, from the chaff, the noise, the shouting, the threats. Lots of elevated threats on all sides of this conflict. Lots of rumors about what was said to whom. Lots of calls for ceasefires from world leaders, from the UN. We think that what's actually happened here is that Mr. Netanyahu is not taking calls for ceasefires very seriously, particularly from European leaders, let alone people as he would regard as being on the other side of this debate. However, when Biden said, look, two things going on here, we think there's going to be a major escalation, or there's a chance of a major escalation. And in that case, we need to position our forces around the Middle East because the US might well be involved. So we need to get our defensive systems around our bases in the Gulf up and running. We need to make sure our aircraft carrier groups are in the right place to try and deter Hezbollah or Iran from getting involved. Second thing, Biden apparently said to Netanyahu is our own assessments, our military assessments, is that you are walking into a trap and you are not yet ready to deal with the scale of the tunneling network in Gaza, and you need to do more preparation for this. That's our honest assessment as a friend of what you're doing. And so far that joint double warning, if you like, seems to have had an effect, and we haven't had the ground invasion yet that we expected.
One other thing that President Biden said yesterday, that he was alarmed by reports of extremist settlers attacking Palestinians in the West Bank. What do we know about what is happening? What kind of numbers are we talking about?
Yeah, that's very visible. What's happening in the West Bank is it's clear that the war hasn't spread to the West Bank in the sort of sense that we saw it on October 7th with these attacks, or the scale of the bombing raids by Israel on Gaza. But there is definitely heightened activity, I suppose you might say euphemistically, in the West Bank. There are lots of protests by Palestinians in the West Bank. There's the Israeli security forces, army and police are firing back, killing and injuring people who are involved in protests or in attacks on the army. And at the same time, yes, you have the settler movement, which can be very aggressive in terms of threatening and harassing Palestinian villages. Have also taken the opportunity to up their activity, and they're very visibly going around harassing Palestinian areas, Palestinian villages, and indeed occasionally shooting at Palestinians.